The special meeting of the Auburn Industrial Development Authority is convened via teleconference and video conference in the city of Auburn on May 1st at 4 p.m. Why don't we do a roll call since we've got everybody on different lines and stuff. Tracy?
Sam, are you going to do it or do you want me to do it?
Hold on just a moment, I can do it. Sorry. Okay. Mr. Dacey?
Here.
Mr. Andre? Ms. Weber-McLeod?
Here.
Mr. Giantino? Mr. Beer?
Here.
Mr. Cuddy?
Here.
Mr. Gasper?
Here.
Mr. Gravius? Mr. LaBarnway?
Here.
Okay. I will turn it over to you, Tracy.
And we also have Gwen here as well. Did you call her?
Yeah.
I did.
Oh, missed it. Okay, so we have a single item on the agenda today, and that is an application from Tessie Plastics. There was a revised application that got sent to us this afternoon. Did that make it out to the board, Sam?
Yep.
Did you say the revised
Application. It sounds like we did.
I spoke to.
I sent out the revised resolution. I did not send out a revised application.
Okay, I'm going to forward that now then.
Home payments. She says they have two.
So there were some updates to the application and the job figures.
Oh, Deborah just called me.
Whoever's on the phone, I'm going to mute your line. We can hear your conversation. So I'm going to forward this out now, but I would like to hand it over to someone from the Tessie team to run through the project and what they're looking to do at this point. I don't know, Kevin, did you want to do that?
Sure, I will start. This is Kevin McCullough. I'm an attorney with Barclay Damon in Syracuse. Also on the line today is Roland Beck, president of the Tessie Companies and president of Tessie Medical Products, LLC, the applicant today, and Joseph Rinaldi, the CFO of the Tessie Companies. First, I'd like to thank the board for convening a special meeting on a Friday afternoon. Time is truly of the essence in this situation. Tessie was approached several weeks ago by a major medical supplier and by other government officials about its capability to provide complete test kits for the COVID-19 situation that we're confronted with. And I have to say at the outset that we are under a non-disclosure agreement. So some of the things that have appeared in the paper, we don't know where that came from. I'm not authorized, nor is Roland or Joe, to devise the name of the company that we're dealing with. So there may be some information you may ask that we simply can't provide those answers because of this non-disclosure agreement. But we'll do our best to provide all the information to you. We have a very tight time frame here. When first approached, we were told we had 15 weeks to become operational. We're now down to 13 weeks with the time that it's taken. An important side note here, this is the building, of course, that Tessie acquired from McQuay-Dakin several years ago. And we should note for the record the wonderful cooperation from Dakin in vacating space on a rapid basis, moving their materials out, and agreeing to waive a 90-day vacation provision that they had in there in order to accommodate this situation. We would not be here today if it were not for their help and cooperation in pulling this off. So what we have is a situation where Tessie is being asked to make complete products similar to what they've done before. Right now, for example, they manufacture a plastic cartridge used in surgery, and they now insert those staples in it. Similarly, this will be a completed product when it leaves this facility. The application before you is by Tessie Medical Products, LLC. So we'll provide a little background because this is actually a two-part application in one sense, because you have an existing relationship as an agency with Tessie Products, Tessie Plastics, excuse me. The owner of the building is Tessie Auburn. It leased the facility to Tessie Plastics, and Tessie Plastics now is assigning all of its rights under its lease and its lease and leaseback and pilot arrangement with the Auburn City IDA to Tessie Medical Products, LLC. So part of what we're asking you to do here is consent to the assignment of that existing relationship that this agency has with Tessie Plastics. And then your counsel is on so he can answer any questions in more detail. But what we contemplate then is that we would amend and restate the existing lease, the lease back, and the pilot agreement should the agency pass an inducement resolution on this project. Let me highlight a very important part of the modifications that we've made and the revisions that were filed today. This project, as you can understand, is developing rapidly and changing. So at the time we filed the application, our understanding was that at that time we would have 200 jobs at the outset, and that would drop to 50 jobs. That is no longer the case. That which we have filed with you now shows a continuity of 200 jobs. And I'll get in a moment to our request to waive your recapture policy because we don't know how long those jobs will continue. But for the moment, we have filed with you a revised application which shows a payroll then of some $9.2 million for the next 3 years. This demand on Tessie, if you will, is to produce 10 million test kits per month. We don't know how long that will go on. It's assumed that it will go on for at least a year. The important thing is that Tessie is a company that has grown over the years by adaptive reaction to its clients' demands. At one point in time, it had a major production or a major presence in the auto industry, and it modified that. And we are hopeful that this job creation of 200 can continue indefinitely at this facility. And if the need for COVID test kits dissipates, we would hope then that this test kit could be used for something else, some other disease that needs control or analysis, and or we find another adaptive use for the setup that we're implementing here. The project itself on the application calls for about $4 million worth of modifications to the building itself, and then another 14 million in special systems that we have to put in place to support the tooling. We don't know exactly how much the tooling is going to cost at this point in time. And our original application had a number in it of approximately $100 million. We don't know that that's the number, so we don't really want to represent that it's 100 million, but this will be a very expensive project to equip. And obviously with this commitment from Tessie, you can understand our hope that over the years, we will be able to continue either manufacturing these test kits for COVID or something else, and or if not the test kits, then some other adaptive reuse for this facility. Just one other point then on that continuity, because this is really, in a sense, a high-risk, rapid response situation in which Tessie has one client with an uncertain market, and we hope, quite frankly, of all of a limited duration, although none of us know at the moment with the changing news we get every day, that we've asked you to waive your recapture policy, because your recapture policy calls for a recapture of 100% of the benefits over 6 years, and then that declines over 10 years if we were to stop operation or substantially move employees to some other location. While none of us want that, none of us can guarantee, on the other hand, that we will be operating this facility at this level for 10 years. And that may seem like an odd request, but this is an extreme request of Tessie, and I think I should say at the moment too that we don't even have signed agreements that support this. So we're moving forward in good faith that the supplier is going to need this, that we will actually have agreements materialize, but we need to move forward because that's the community need to have these test kits in place. I think the only other piece before you then is, in one sense, is we've supplied, and I believe Tracy may have circulated, a requested pilot schedule. Now, I just want to make one point on pilot and value. There was some piece about how this building is currently assessed for $13 million, and it made it imply, in a sense, that we were getting a break on the current pilot with the valuation starting at $8 million. The fact is, this building was on the market for some time. I don't know how long, but Tessie bought it in an arm's length transaction for $8 million. If this pilot wasn't in place, then probably that assessment would have been contested a long time ago. But the value of this building is really what the IDA documents reflected, and that was the $8 million level, not the current assessment of 13. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board for any questions, and obviously not just myself available to respond, but Roland and Joe are here as well to respond to any questions you may have.
First of all, I think we need to put a motion on that before we discuss the resolution. So is there a motion?
I'll move, Brian. I'll move.
Second, please.
Second, Roger Beer.
Okay. It's open for discussion now.
I have a couple questions.
One thing let me just jump in there. First of all, on the resolution, Brandon is not listed as one of the things on the last page. And the other thing was that as far as the pilot goes and the amount of people, normally we want to have a maximum, or whatever your maximum employment's going to be, and that you hold the line on that employment. I think under an emergency circumstance, my recommendation, and I have to go to Rob about this, but could we make the pilot for 50, and under the emergency situation, it goes to 200 for the period of time necessary during the crisis?
You could. I think what Kevin is saying is that the contract currently isn't set, and they don't know how long the procurement is going to be at this point. So they can't make a hard and fast commitment based on the information they have today, and probably won't be able to do it through when we execute the documents. So I mean, I'll throw it back on Kevin a little bit as to what they're actually able to put in writing as of this time. But Kevin, is that your understanding?
Yes, I mean, the pilot schedule that we requested is a continuity of the current value that we pay on, $8 million, and then using your standard UTEP, bringing online then that $4 million that we're putting into the building over the next 10 years. That's what we did. So we took the current level of 8 million, brought in the $4 million in improvements, and added that in over time. And so under your current UTEP for a manufacturing facility in year one, the abatement's 100%. So for year one, the pilot remains at 8 million. And then that abatement erodes at the rate of 10% a year.
Kevin, I think Jim's question is if you can commit to the 50 jobs rather than and have that be the basis of the recapture. And Rob's response, Jim, I think is to say that what the application indicates is that they're not necessarily able to commit to having that facility functioning nonstop for 10 years. And that's the basis of the request to consider the recapture. Is that correct, Kevin?
Yes, it is.
Jimmy, it looked like you had some questions as well.
Yes, Tracy, I do. For either Mr. McAuliffe or Mr. Beck, you mentioned a 15-week time frame. Now it's down to 13 weeks. Is that a reasonable time frame? And is there anything in your contract or impending contract that says if you don't meet that time frame that the contract is null and void?
Yeah, we have to meet that, the 13 weeks from now.
And do you think that's feasible?
That's Roland Beck speaking, okay?
All right,
I'm
thank you.
sorry. Yeah, well, I think it's barely feasible. We have to really move on it. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any plans to pursue any other taxpayer or government assistance in this project in the form of state or federal grants?
Not on our end. No, there is not.
Okay. And the other question I had was, and you've already really covered it, I guess, is what's the long-term plan? Is this product something that there's going to be a continued demand for? I mean, is there any conversation that COVID or coronavirus will be something that has to be tested, like seasonal flu, and whether or not there would be a market for that product? But you've already kind of touched on that it's really an unknown.
It is unknown. I mean, this product does get used, so they can fill it. They can put different chemistry in it and use it for the flu and strep and those type of things. So it'll get used, but I'm not sure at the full quantity. Right now with the pandemic, the quantity of the demand is really high, but I don't know how long that will last.
Okay, thank you.
Tracy, this is Roger. Just a couple questions on the numbers. I didn't see the revised application, so I'm just going to double check. When we got the information, the building renovations, 4 million, the specialized systems was another 14. Then I heard Kevin say, in addition to the 18 million, there's going to be an additional 100 million in tooling.
Well, I'm not sure it's complete 100 million, but so there's all the molds and molding machines and all the equipment to produce the product, which will be inside the building. It's not part of the building. It's just, it's a manufacturing. So inside that will be all the automation, molding machines, molds, to mold the parts. So that investment is tremendous.
Yeah. So we're really looking at a project well over 100 million then, all in.
Well, it doesn't. You could say that would be what's in the building. The contents of the building. It isn't part of the building.
Understood. No, I understand.
Yeah.
And your expectation is while we're talking about the 50 jobs, your expectation is, I mean, when would you expect the headcount at 200? When you're up and running in July or August, that's where it'll be?
Yeah, fall, definitely. Yes, I mean in 13 weeks.
Okay.
And I want to mention one thing. That investment, when we talk about the equipment inside, all the molds and machines and all that's customer owned. That's not Tessie's investment.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So,
And I got to say also that we're pretty confident that number is going to stay at 200. This test gets used for so many different, with the investment that our customer and us is putting into this. I don't see an issue with it too. I believe the number will be at 200, but it's one of those things that happens so quickly, and it's hard for me to guarantee it. I hope it. I mean, I'm putting enough investment in there, and so is the customer, that we're doing it for a reason. And if I wasn't confident that the numbers were gonna stay there, I wouldn't do it. But we're pretty confident.
Very good.
Question for you as well. I'm looking at the pilot tables. Is this a typical way we go through it? 10% a year for a 10-year
Yes,
period?
this is a pretty standard, this is a standard way of doing the pilot,
Okay.
or at least that schedule is. Yeah.
So essentially, we're looking at the pilot numbers plus the approval of a waiver of what looks to be $720,000 in sales tax.
Yes.
That was okay. And that number's still consistent, the 720?
Yes.
Hasn't been revised.
The other thing I'd just like to point to in the application to make sure it doesn't get lost in the mix is that they are requesting a waiver to the local labor policy based on the speed of the project and needing to use existing employees to perform the construction services, and that contractors and subcontractors will advertise available positions in compliance with the authority's requirements, but there needs to be flexibility for the first available satisfactory candidates. So they are requesting a waiver of that policy.
Thank you. As far as the employees, though, you would expect the increase in employees, whether 50 ramping up to 200, expectation, hope is that they will be from the local area?
Yeah, typically the labor is.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So this, Ron, so it's going to start out at 200 and then maybe go down from there. Is that correct?
Well, I never know. It could double. Just like any. It all depends on the success of the project. So, and with the coronavirus, we have no idea where it's going to go. It's one of those things like somebody asked me to. I have no idea if there's a vaccine for this, it could dramatically impact the requirements. So, and it could, and again, the number could double. It's hard to determine. Nobody knows.
But you expect to start with 200 and then go from there. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions?
This is Jeff Gasper. Just one quick question. If the, it sounds like, tight timeline to get that anchor customer contracts and everything in place and agreed upon, solidified. If for whatever reason at the 11th hour that does not go through, does the pilot just kind of, is there something that just kind of backs out of that or erodes that need? Or just curious, since that's still up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, the current pilot exists for another year or two. I apologize, I don't remember how long it has until it expires, but there's, I think, about 2 years. 23, okay. And so that would just stay in place, and we would not make the improvements. I think Roland, correct me if you think I'm wrong. I think that the odds of this not occurring now are very small.
They're very small.
Yeah, I mean, this is Joe Ornelli from Tessie. We went through the effort of evicting a tenant that was very good in the facility. We have a very high level of confidence that this is going to go through.
Very good. Thank you.
Is there any further questions? Could I have a roll call vote, please, for the resolution?
I just want to note a couple changes, Jim, before you do. Just a few minor changes. One, I will add Brandon's name to the roll there. I apologize for that. Two, we're going to authorize the executive director to send out the notice of the public hearing so that we don't have to track down you in this time of social distancing to get your signature on it.
Who's speaking?
That's Rob. It's Rob.
Yeah, it's Rob.
Player.
Jim, can I ask on this, Jim, on the vote
Yes.
we're going to take, is this all encompassing? It's both going to approve the pilot as well as waive the requirements for recapture?
So the resolution tonight is simply an initial project resolution. It allows us to schedule a public hearing. So there's no authorization happening tonight. That would happen at the next meeting after the public hearing.
This is the resolution to have the public hearing,
Okay.
which we have planned for the 15th.
Oh.
Yep, we're going to confirm the time when we're done with the resolution. But I just want to make sure that if anyone has any concerns about my signing the public notice, we can track down Jim. It would just be a little more efficient to do it and get those notices out. So, but if there's any concerns, we can certainly have Jim sign them.
Yeah, we definitely want to get that rolling as fast as we can to assist Tessie. Any further discussion?
This is Gwen. I just have a clarifying question. So we still have to go through this process. So does our need to go through this process, is it delaying Tessie's ability to continue negotiating with this customer and beginning to do the work that they need, or will they not be able? I get the contract piece, but for our piece, do they have to wait until after May 15th before they can actually start doing what they need to do to outfit this building to create this product? I just want to understand that chronology.
So I'll start, and if Kevin, you want to jump in.
The reason I'm concerned, the reason I'm concerned is because they've already lost, they're down to 13 weeks. So I think that we need to act in a way that allows them to get to doing what they need to do as expeditiously as possible. That's why I want to understand the relationship between these actions.
So the first thing is that what they won't be able to do is realize the sales tax exemption until we are authorized. So our process is stopping them from realizing that sales tax exemption for any purchases between now and the closing on our benefits. The issue is that the state law requires us to provide a 10-day notice of a public hearing. So the 15th is really legitimately to get that notice in the paper and to do what we need to do, really is the first reasonable date to be able to do the hearing and the authorizing meeting under state law.
Okay. And again, my concern is just wanting to make sure that we're acting in a way that gives lift to what they need to do and doesn't hinder what they need to do.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, it's just the timing of the process.
All right, thank you.
We have tried very, very hard to move expeditiously on this, and we will continue to do so because of the importance of the project. Certainly. So if there are no further questions, we will now go to a roll call vote.
Mr. Dacey?
Aye.
Mr. Andre?
Aye.
Ms. Weber McLeod?
Aye.
Mr. Beer?
Aye.
Mr. Cuddy?
Aye.
Mr. Gasper?
Aye.
Mr. Avias?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarnway?
Yes.
Mr. Giantino?
Aye.
Brandon?
Yes.
Maybe Samantha didn't hear, but she didn't put the name on the resolution.
No, that was my fault.
She got him though. We got him.
Okay,
It's everybody.
so now we're unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything more we need from the people from Tessie?
No, we're just gonna finalize the time of the hearing on the 15th, but I don't believe there's any other information we need from them at this point.
Feel free to stay on if you'd like. We're going to discuss the time of the next meeting at this point.
Thank you very much.
More than welcome. The date with the 10 days, we put it the 11th, I think.
So we need to leave time to be able to get notice in the paper.
Yeah.
So with there not being a paper on Mondays, I was concerned about trying to get notification to the paper and getting it in before Tuesday.
Okay.
Which is why we had talked about the 15th.
So the 15th would be the logical first date that we could.
That was my thought, unless the paper wants to jump in and let us know if they can get a notice in on Sunday. If we get them the stuff today.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, Jeremy.
Yeah, those pages are gone.
Okay, so.
Classified section's done.
Okay, so we'll aim for.
Apologize for that.
No, I kind of figured that would be the case, so.
Okay, so we will then, thank you though, Jeremy. We will then attempt to have the meeting, we will have the meeting on the 15th. The question was 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which is more convenient for. Pardon me?
This is Ron. I prefer 2.
Yeah, and Gwen, Judy, let me know that 2 would be better for you, but either would be okay.
Okay. Since I don't run my own life, I'm glad she does.
Judy and I are becoming friends.
Since I'm a captive here, either one's fine for me.
I can do either one.
Yeah. This is Roger Beard. I can do either one.
So why don't we shoot for 2 o'clock Friday? Okay,
that works for me.
This is going to be interesting, having a public hearing via teleconference.
I know.
Oh, well.
I'm a little worried about it.
It's a different world. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so we will shoot for the meeting 2 o'clock on the 15th. Whatever that was. Oh, there was somebody being happy about 2 o'clock, I think.
That was just life happening.
Okay, if there is no further business, could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
This is Ron. I move.
Second, please.
Second.
Second. Whatever.
Why is it so tough to get a motion in a second on adjournment? Can't believe it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions carried. Thank you very much. Talk to you, if not sooner, on the 15th.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.